me recall what we did with hashing. Okay, so it is hashing continued. In hashing, the main idea is we have to make the information storage and retrieval in order of 1, that is constant time, right? So that was the main idea. So it is information storage and retrieval, TRIEVL. Is it so? If I am doing any mistake, you please correct me, okay? This is the task. How we proceeded? First there was this direct address table, DAT. That was not useful. Why? Why we didn't go with this idea? Not used because anyone recall that? Shubhasri, it's your turn now. Why didn't you use that?
I don't remember right now.
You didn't attend my classes?
Yes, ma'am, I attended.
Then try to recall. Then Hemant.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you say what DAT is? Like the
Direct address table. Direct address. Don't you remember I draw something like this and something like this?
yeah, yes, ma'am.
So why this scheme was not useful? What was the drawback here?
High memory usage.
Mm-hmm.
Like the memory usage would be high. Like if the maximum value of the key is big, then you have to store. Like, there'll be a lot of empty spaces as well if they are scattered.
Yeah, memory usage is high. You are correct, Raghu. Because here we were doing the hash function. We are taking as h of say I equals to I. This was our hash function. So this means whatever is the value of I, whatever is the minimum value of I and the maximum value of I in the keys, the whole universe set size, that should be the size of the table, and lot of spaces will be there which will be empty, right? Just like say I'm starting from 5, say 5, after that say uh, 12, say 22, say 50. Then I have to take the table from this 5 to 50 at least, or maybe 0 to 50 at least. That has to be my size of the table, such that it is satisfying this criteria. So that was the drawback. Only 4 values are to be stored, but we are storing directly using this as my address. So we have to take lots of space. That's why it is not at all useful, because it takes address as the key value. Key value as the address I should have written. To index. Got the point? That's why it is not useful. Then we went for simple uniform hashing assumption, SUHA, which is simple uniform hashing assumption. What is the problem here? And what is the time complexity, space complexity, everything? Here time complexity, maybe here also I should write Tn. This will be constant. Space will be, this will be size of the universe of keys. No. How do I write? Okay. Now for SQHA, assumption is the hash function will has the keys with uniformly. That is, the hash function itself is uniform random number generator, right? And with this, our insertion complexity, insertion time, and access time. Insertion time is what? So this is for chaining, right? Chaining. So whenever we don't go for DAT, there is a chance of collision, and in that case we have to resolve it. There are two ways of resolving. One is chaining, another is open addressing. In SQHA, we go for chaining as the collision resolution technique. In that case, the insertion time will be order of 1 when this will be order of 1 when we insert the item at the end of the chain. Start of the chain. When key is inserted at the beginning of the chain. Now access time. Access time, we did two proofs. That is expected access time. One was order of, in both the cases it was same actually. Do you remember what was that? Just a second. Class নিচ্ছে হ্যাঁ পরে কথা বলবো. Access time, do you remember? There was two cases. Once when the element is not present, another one is when element is present. When element is not present, then average chain length is okay, sorry. So access time when the element is not present, in that case what we have to do, we have to first compute the hash value. That will take constant time. Then we have to, on average, we have to search the expected chain length, which is alpha, right? The load factor. So in case of chaining, we get a load factor that is called alpha, that is m by n or n by m. Are you sleeping?
Number of elements by cycle.
N by m.
If n is the number of
N is
elements,
the number of keys, n is the number of slots. Okay, n is
then
number of keys, m is number of slots. This is n by m, right? So access time is going to be order of 1 plus n by m, that is 1 plus alpha. So when you know how many slots are there and how many keys you are going to search, then this alpha becomes also a constant number, and 1 plus alpha means maximum of these two constant, whatever you take, that is going to be constant one. So that is the simple uniform hashing assumption. What is the problem here? Problem? Why you went for this universal hash family? Udit? Indresh? Ragul is answering for long, so I am not going to ask him. Now you people have to answer. Indresh is there, Shreyas has left. Okay. Yeah, Indresh, you tell me. You can be wrong, no problem with that. At least try, no? What do you think can be the problem?
Repetition, ma'am.
Repetitions are not, repetition will be problem in every case, but that is not the actual problem. Here you see this, the word is this assumption. We are assuming something, but how we are going to satisfy that assumption, we have no idea. So it is more like theoretical study. We are considering that the elements are going to be uniformly distributed. The numbers will be picked up uniformly. That is the first, the distribution of the keys are uniform. Second, that the hash function which we are going to apply over that keys, that is also a uniform random number generator, such that that will be picking up the numbers, whatever number you choose, that will be allotted uniformly over the range, and there is only out of this m slot 1 by m, that possibility of collision is only 1 by m, that we assumed. Okay, but we don't have any clear cut idea about how to apply that assumption in practice. That is the problem with this scheme. So it is more about theoretical study, not clear about how to implement this. Got my point? You still don't know what should be your hash function such that this simple uniform hashing assumption will be satisfied. If it is satisfied, your access time, insertion time, those are great for you. But how will you implement that? This scheme is not going to tell. So because of that, basically, we switch from this simple uniform SUHA, simple uniform hashing assumption, to this universal hash family. Universal hash family gives us many benefits. One is it will provide us the hash function for which will perform some just like the SUHA. So universal hash family, you have simple universal hash family and strongly universal hash family. So K universal and strongly K universal, right? In each case, we know that how to design the function. So we have to take something like this. So it is a what to write? A K mod M mod P mod M. This will be giving you probability will be 1 by equals to 1 by K, that means it is m to the power K, right? And K universal is less or equals to no. Is it less or equals to or is it greater than equals to? Do you remember? I think I have to check also. It is less or equals to only. Yeah. Less or equals to only. So this one is less or equals to 1 by m to the power K minus 1, right? This probability value of collision. Now, how you can build up this? For K universal, it will be H P M. This will be A X over X plus B mod P mod M. And you take H where all such PM are there, where A and A belongs to your ZP, B ZP star, B belongs to ZP. This is the function, or rather the form of the set of function from which you can pick up for your given P, given M. You can choose appropriate P, and from the set from the P you can get a set from where you can pick up your H. So a lot of H PM will be there. By changing the value of P, you can get that, and out of that you can choose. In case of strongly K universal family, you are going to have only one. So mod N, mod P will not be there, only mod P will be there, and that will give you strongly K universal hash family. So strongly K universal hash family can be extended. This one is extended for P to the, okay, if it is P, if we take P to the power K minus 1, 0 to P to the power K minus 1 number of elements. So initially we did the checking for only P number of elements. After that we extended. So if you take P as 2 and K as any value of, say, number, say 32-bit number or something like that, accordingly you can set. So this is the way you can generate these hash families. Now we have also seen that if you use this say 2 universal hash family, using 2 universal hash family, you can get that your access time or search time is going to be bounded by order of 1 plus n by n. Right? This was one proof. Another proof was there where we did that E of probability of number of collision X, or x greater than equals to n square by m. This is what? This is less or equals to half. This we got using Markov's inequality. Do you remember this? This was what we got, and this result we used later in perfect hashing also. Now in perfect hashing, so this was the property of two universal hash family. If you do this, you can get the access time to be order of 1 plus alpha, and probability of x, this x is number of collision, total number of collision, to be more than n square by m, that probability is only lesser than 50%, or only not more than 50%. Now we use this two universal hash family for perfect hashing. So perfect hashing scheme was the last scheme that we discussed. In perfect hashing, it is used for dictionary, where you have already built up the hash table, and after that you just have to search. So there is nothing like you have to do any kind of insertion. It is a static table. So in case of perfect hashing, there is no collision. That is the criteria. That's why it is called perfect. So how we ensure that there will be no collision? Do you remember? If we take this, just use this equation. If we take m equals to n square, then probability of collision is less or equals to 50%. So probability of not having any collision is more than or equals to 50%. There is 50-50 chance. So that means if you try 2 times, on average it is expected that you will be getting a hash family or a hash function for which those key distributions are not going to have any collision. So this you ensure, take n equals to or m equals to n square. So number of elements, whatever number of elements you are having, you take the size as square of it, then use a Lavegas algorithm to find a particular, this h is hp n square from h, such that for the keys there is no collision. I said that it is a static dictionary, so once you have done all the insertion, there is nothing else to be done again. So you can check for the given keys what is the perfect hash function for it, and you can insert it. There is no one else who is going to insert again, so there will not be any chance of collision later. Okay, now what is the problem here? Tell me about the problem. This is very recent, so you should remember.
Memory, memory, like since we need like n square, so n square like less memory usage will be high.
Yeah, so in hashing, our target should be that we should use lesser memory and more number of data should be stored within those lesser memory within by using some kind of chaining. Here what we are doing is we are doing the reverse kind of operation. We are using more memory than the number of data such that there is no collision. So lots of memory will be wasted obviously. So that is the problem here. So taking order of n square as the memory space. So for this, what we did, we went for two-level scheme for perfect hashing. In this scheme, our target is that we'll be dividing the chains in a way. So it is like you are given some set of data. Say these are your data. Now these data are stored in some hash table. This is the primary. Now if you are getting a chain, two number of elements are mapped to same slot, this one, then for this you take, so say this is the primary hash function p, say p m. Now you use another hash functions here, h p m1 maybe, and create small tables. Similarly, if there is something like here HP M2, when there is no collision, then this same table can be used. But if there is a collision, you will use a separate hash table, a separate hash function to map to that table, and that table has space as, so if in this chain there are, say, which number should I use, say s number of elements, then this size should be s square. Say this is s1, this is s1 square. Say this is s2, this one is s2 square, in this way. Okay, so while you select this HPM, the first primary hash function, you have to ensure that you again use a Lavegas algorithm such that the number of collisions is bounded by order of n. This is the bound of collisions for primary hash table. Will you get confused? What is this PHT? Primary hash table, PHT. These are second level hash table or secondary hash tables, whatever you want to say. So this is the first level function. So HPM can have at maximum order of n collisions. You can choose a hash functions from the set of hash functions possible, that is a universal hash family for it, which is having this property using a Lavegas algorithm. It might be complex, but it will not take more than n times. So this is the first task. So after that, whenever out of this order of n collision, whenever there is a collision and more than one number of elements are going to be stored in the same slot, then for that slot you create a separate, completely separate hash table. So for each slot, create a secondary hash table with the hash function HPM1 or MI, we can say that okay, if I use MI, then this particular value I can use as MI itself. No need to use any other variable. That hashes the SI number of keys of that slot to the secondary table with no collision. This is the primary requirement. So for this, how many number of times you have to check for in the hash family? You have seen that for our Markov inequality, it says it will be less or equals to half. So again 2 times you have to check, and you can find such a hash function. Now what we have to prove that after all this, total number of space requirement is still order of n. So prove that the space requirement is order of n, because it might seem that here we are going to use more tables, so might be we are needing more slots and more space will be needed. So this we have to prove. How can we do that? Say we have, so did I do this proof again before? Do you remember? Have I done this proof?
Yes, ma'am. I remember you doing it, but I don't remember how did you.
Okay. If I say, maybe you can recall them. Say I have say small ci is the number of items in slot I. Then total number of collision in slot I can be, so total number of collisions for slot I, this is what? If it was n, it was nc2, right? So ci means cic2, c2. So total number of collisions for all such slots will be what? So total number of collisions over all i's, this will be what? Sum over this cic2 I equals to I don't know how many i's. Oh no, total number of collision is less or equals to n. So I equals to maybe 1 to n. I will write simply I. Better. For all I. Now total number of collisions limitation, we know that it is going to be less or equals to n. maybe I'll write here as only n, not order of n. We can make it as n itself. So this one is less or equals to n, that we know. Now what we have to do? Now for each of these tables, so for each of slot I, what we get is we have to create a another hash table of size ci square. We have secondary table of size ci square. So total space is how much? For the first level, how much we need? How much space we need? N, no. It will be n plus this sum of ci square over all I. So this is what? N plus ci, we can simply write 2I ci into ci minus 1 by 2 ci square minus ci, right? So it is plus ci, I have to take ci, right? So this is what? N plus 2 into sum over I ci c2 plus sum over ci. So this will be less or equals to what? N plus
n 2n plus
2n plus
summation c.
this is n at maximum.
Yes.
So this will be less or equals to 4n. That is order of n. That means total space requirement becomes order of n only. Similarly, you can prove that if you just talk about the bins, it is not going to take more than 2n size. So for the bins, it is going to take 2n, actually exactly 2n. And another one thing is also there to prove. Okay, probability of collision to be more than 4n, that is half. That is also there to prove. These are some of the corollaries that we can get out of here. I'll give that as assignment for you to practice. It can simply be derived from the same equation, nothing else to be done. So this is all about hashing. We don't have anything else here in hashing. I started with the start of hashing because I thought that maybe if I tell the whole thing together, it will be more clear to you why we do all these things. So that was the reason. So can I start the next part, or what do you want, or you want to leave? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 students only. So people have started leaving. Then maybe I'll stop. What do you want? You tell me. Even Udit is not there. Shreyas is not there. Bashru is there. Hemant is there. Shubhasri is there. Sundara is there. Rahul and Madhavan is there. Okay. So you should be given some treat once you come here. Indresh, it is your duty to remind me, okay? So people
Okay.
will come to my cabin and I will give you a treat. That is a promise. Okay, now you tell me, what should I do? Should I talk about this birthday paradox? Or you want to leave?
How many like more classes it will take, ma'am? Because already we are losing Monday and Wednesday. Wednesday due to our own city, and Monday also we won't be having. So
Yeah,
next
yeah.
Friday,
That's right.
next Friday also we have a doubt whether there will be a
Next
holiday.
Friday is a holiday. So if you want, I can take class, but officially it is a holiday. That's why I thought like I'll take 1 or 2 classes and I'll finish over so that you can get time. Maybe birthday paradox I'll tell, and then with that will cover this. I will not extend the syllabus.
Okay, ma'am. Then we'll cover it now itself, ma'am.
Okay. What others are saying? Someone has to say something. No, I don't get to hear your voice.
Yes, ma'am, we can do it now.
Okay, another one voice I got. Now what about the Madhavan? Hemant I have heard,
Yes, ma'am.
and Basu. Yeah. Okay, we'll continue then. Okay, this birthday paradox and balls and pins model, these are already, you have seen the application in hashing. There is nothing new in it. So it is like if you have, say, n number of elements, and say m number of boxes, then how many ways you can fill it such that no two elements are put in the same box, and what is the limit that if after if n is more than that, then there will be it is guaranteed that the boxes, at least some of the boxes will be there which is going to have more than one element. Okay, that is the main idea behind this balls and beans model. These elements are balls and these boxes are beans. Okay, let us start with this birthday paradox. Maybe this birthday paradox, maybe some of you have heard already. How many of your batchmates are having same birthday? Have you seen? Have you observed? Is there anyone in your class who shares your same birthday?
Yes, ma'am, people are there.
People are there, no? So how many students are there in your class? It's like 70 around?
74, ma'am, makes it.
74, okay. We'll see how many should be there such that there is lesser chance of people having same birthday. Okay, and what is the, if after which number there is like, it is likely that people will be there who are going to have same birthday. Now, if we talk about say 365 days, so maybe we'll start with 365 days only. If same birthday date only, we are not talking about the year. If year is different, only date we are talking, then that is the birthday paradox actually. Just like probably you are also saying that the same date is same, although year might be different. Or is it like year is also same? Is there anyone for whom here is also same, exactly of your age?
In my school it was there, ma'am, but not in college.
Okay. Yeah. So in college, it is more likely that people will be there who are sharing your birthday, maybe not the birth year. So suppose we are going to take, we are taking the students roll number wise. So first roll number, he or she is having one birthday. So that is, so the other students can have, what is the chance that the second student is not going to have the same birthday? Out of 365 days, this student, the first student, can pick up any of the days, right? So the total number of ways is 1 by 365 is the way in which he or she has picked up, has pick up already. So 1 minus 1 by 365, that is remaining to be picked up, right? So this is the probability that the second person, second roll number, has a different birthday than first roll number. Do you agree? First roll number can have any day. So for him or her, we are not considering. Now when we choose another person, so that one day is already blocked. So remaining days are there, or rather you can see that, you can tell that it is out of 364 days, he or she can pick up any day. So it is 364 by 365. That is the option, isn't it? Now for, say, now for the third student, what will be it? So this is for the second student. For third student, it will be 1 minus 2 by 365. That is 363 by 365. This is for third. Similarly, we can continue. If you have 74 students, so it will be 1 minus 74 by 365. This is for the 74th student. Agreed? So total probability that everyone is having different birthdays is, it is possible, right? Because we have 365 days. So 365 students, if it is not more than 365, then at least we are not here, we are not taking about this leap year. So we are considering only 365 days. So at least 365 possibilities are there. We are having 74 students. So it can happen that all 74 students are having different birthdays. But what is that probability? So the probability of everyone having different birthdays, this will be just multiplication, right? So it will be multiplication over 1 minus, what is this? We'll start from say j equals to 1 to 74, right? No, this is 74 means it will be going up to 73. This is 73. One minus 74 minus 1. 1 minus j by 1 minus j by 365, right? Agreed? Is it agreed?
Yes.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
all the events are independent events. So if we want to, all the events we are taking as independently, so we have to take the joint of them. So we have to multiply them. What I said, is it, I said independent, no? I think I have mixed. No, it is not independent event. All of them I have to take together. That means I have to take multiplication. I hope you understood what I wanted to say. So if I have n options instead of 365, suppose I had n options, and out of n options, I have to choose, say, m number of options. M have to choose. Then total number of ways will be total number
Instead of 74, we'll replace with m and 365 by n.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. So it will be n minus 1, j equals to 1 to n minus 1, 1 minus j by n. So this series.
That would be m minus 1, no, ma'am?
Yeah, like that will be, this will be m minus 1, exactly. This will be m minus 1, this will be n. Yeah, you are right. So this is the total number of no, this is the probability that all the choices will be different. Now this series, this is similar to or almost equal to this, some series of e to the power minus j by n, where it is j 1 to m minus 1, same. Now if we take this series, now we have to, this multiplication will be just addition over here, right? So we can simplify it. By after simplification, what we can get is e to the power minus j by m, where j will be varying from 1 to m minus 1. So this will be in sum. So here it is exponential over minus will become outside. This j equals to 1 to m minus 1, j by m, j by n. Can anyone do that? What is going to be the result? N is obviously, it will come outside. J equals to 1 to m minus 1, j. What is the value? E to the power minus m into m minus 1 by 2, right? This is just natural numbers, isn't it? 1 to m minus 1 natural numbers. So it is m into m minus 1 by 2 n. Agreed? So this is equals to, almost equals to e to the power minus n square by 2n. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
The value of m now we can get, at which the n people will be having different birthdays. So value of m will be what? Value of m for at which m people can have different birthdays. This is what we have to take the log, so as that m square comes here. So it is m square by 2n. this is equals to, this will be given by this equation, log of log base 2 if you take 50%, that is probability here log base 2 is if you take 50%. So if you want to change it, it can, like, if you take 100%, then accordingly this value have to change. So value of m at which m people can have different birthdays can be given by solving this, where the probability is half. So how we get it? We took e to the power minus m square by 2n equals to half.
The probability.
Yeah, probability value we took as half. Then we took the log value. So log value if we take, then it will be log of 2, and this will come as n square by 2n, because in both cases we have taken minus. So by solving it, you can get for any n. So if you have, now it is your task now. If we have n equals to 365, then what should be the value of n? So for n equals to 365, n square equals to 2 into 365 log 2 log 2. So m means it will be root over this. Can you tell me what is the value of it? Anyone having calculator?
$22.5.
22 point something, 24.49.
49.
Okay. So that means around 23. So if you have more than 23 students, it is likely that at least 50% chance is there that someone else will come up who is going to have the same birthday as you. Okay. So it is not surprising that the strength of 74 students will be having many people who are sharing the same birthday as yours. Okay. So this is called the birthday paradox. So it is almost 20. Balls and beans, what I will teach you. So another thing that is there in balls and beans model is if you are given n balls and m beans, then what is and all balls are thrown uniformly at random into the bins. So we have n balls and maybe n beans is also there. N balls and n beans, and balls are thrown uniformly at random at the bins. So there are chances, there are possibility of all balls to be thrown into distinct bins, because at least number of bins are not less than number of balls. Obviously, if number of bins are lesser than number of balls, there will be collision. We can't avoid that. But other than that, there is at least one case where you can throw balls in distinct bins. Now we have to find the bound, that what is the probability that maximum load is not more than 3 log n by log n. This is little bit complex. I'll write the theorem as it is in the book. So the probability that the maximum load means the maximum number of balls that are thrown into the same bin is more than 3 log n by log n is at most 1 by n for sufficiently large n. This is the theorem that we have to prove. Now how we do? Suppose we have m balls. Now each of the bins, what is the probability that each of the bins get in these n balls, or say bin 1 gets n balls? Bin 1 gets m balls out of how many balls we have out of n balls? This value of m is actually the load. So the maximum value of m we have to find. Now this is bin 1. Suppose it gets m balls out of the n balls. How many possibilities are there? We have n number of balls. Out of n number of balls, we can pick up any of the m balls, right? And then this bin we can pick up in how many ways?
And
So it will be it is NCM to pick up any of the m balls. Sorry, it is MCN, opposite. I just wrote it opposite. M is smaller, so MCN. Out of n balls, I can choose m balls, and then all the balls have to be fall inside this bin 1 first bin. Now how many choices are there? There are n number of bins. So all have to first ball can fall here in 1 by n ways, right? Second ball can fall here in 1 by n ways, right? In the same way, all balls are thrown uniformly at random, and these are independent events. So we don't have any connection with throwing of one ball to another ball. So how many ways will be there? There are 1 by n options to pick up this first bin, and for each of these options, we can use each of these balls to be thrown here. So how many possibilities will be there? So it is for first it is 1 by n, for the second it is 1 by n, for the third it is again 1 by n. In this way, how many times it is going to be multiplied?
n times.
N
times the number of balls.
Number of balls. So it is 1 by n is going to be, this is m times, right? Is it okay? So this is actually MCN 1 by n to the power m. Now this, if we take this, this is actually less or equals to 1 by factorial of m. Now we use another inequality. It is given that if you know this, k to the power k by factorial k, this is less than sum over I equals to 0 to infinity k to the power I by factorial I, and this is equals to e to the power k. Okay, now using this, if we use this, what we can write from here, 1 by factorial m, 1 by factorial m, this is going to be less than e to the power k by k to the power k, right? So e to the power m by k to the power, m to the power m, nothing, no k is there. That is e by m whole to the power m. Now you have to apply value of m. If we take the value of m as greater than, so if m is greater than 3 log n by ln n log n, then the probability becomes, then probability is n into e to the power e by m to the power m. This will be less or equals to n into this, n into e, this will come above log n n log n by 3 ln and to the power, what will come, this part, 3 ln n by ln n. So this is pretty difficult, but if you are able to solve it, you can see this is going to be less or equals to 1 by n. I am not going into the way of solving it. It will take some kind of simplification in the form of log n. So if it is by this, then you have to resolve it. Then you just try to resolve it without using the book. Then you see whether you can find it. Okay, this is your task. The term without help of book. So if n is sufficiently large, this is reduced. Obviously, this equality we are using when I tends to infinity. So I tends to infinity means this value of m has to be sufficiently large. Now m is related to n, so that means n is also has to be sufficiently large. So when n is very large, we can get a bound of what is the maximum amount of maximum number of items that are going to fall to the same slot. So it is in a way you can also use in terms of hashing, like how many number of elements are going to be in the chain if you consider all the items are thrown independently and uniformly. And this idea is used in bucket sort. Okay, I don't have anything else to say to you. At least for now. I'll give you an assignment. Maybe you can try to solve it. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. Okay, 7 are still there. Yeah, anything else? So if there is any kind of confusion, any kind of clarity required, I'm here, so you can ask me, okay? I can take classes, no problem for me. Yeah, English.
No, ma'am, we don't have like any doubts now, ma'am. If we have anything means, like we'll contact you through MS Teams or WhatsApp.
So for the timing, so next week we're not having any classes then. We are having exam on Wednesday.
Having exam on Wednesday, ma'am. Instead of Friday, like can we have it on Saturday, ma'am? Because Saturday morning we have a presentation. If you want class means.
Okay. If your students tells that we are going to have some class, then or maybe if I want to teach you this Hamiltonian cycle problem, then we'll take the class on Saturday. Okay.
Okay.
But Saturday it will be like this only. You 7 people will be there. Okay. Anyway. Okay, you go. Have a nice weekend.
We want to study for like 5 exams, ma'am.
Yeah.